In the early months of 1942, as the world watched the Pacific burn, one man was about to etch his name into military history. His name was Tomoyuki Yamashita, a Japanese general with sharp instincts, unorthodox strategies, and a calm, almost unsettling confidence. While Tokyo's war machine turned its eyes towards Southeast Asia, Yamashita received a daunting order: invade British Malaya and capture Singapore, the strongest fortress in Asia. Few believed it could be done. The British held over 130,000 men, backed by tanks, aircraft, and naval support. Yamashita had just 36,000 soldiers, mostly light infantry, and barely enough supplies for a few weeks of fighting. And yet, by the time the smoke cleared, Singapore had fallen in just 70 days. It became one of the most humiliating defeats in British military history. Yamashita's secret weapon wasn't numbers, it was speed, deception, and psychology. He studied the terrain of Malaya: dense jungles, rivers, and narrow roads. Instead of following the expected coastal routes, he ordered his men to push through the jungle, a place the British believed impassable for large units. His troops advanced on bicycles, hundreds of them, moving quietly, striking fast, and disappearing before British forces could react. When Allied defenses tried to regroup, Yamashita unleashed a storm of coordinated air and artillery strikes, making his small force appear much larger than it really was. He didn't fight conventionally. He outthought his enemy. Every night, Japanese units lit dozens of extra campfires to make the British believe reinforcements had arrived. Captured vehicles were repainted with Japanese markings and sent back into battle. By the time the British realized what was happening, it was too late. The Japanese were already deep behind their lines. In February 1942, Yamashita's army reached the gates of Singapore, the pride of the British Empire in Asia. Churchill had once called it the Gibraltar of the East, protected by heavy coastal guns and an impregnable harbor. But the defenses faced the wrong direction, toward the sea. Yamashita attacked from the land side, where the British believed no one could come through. For a week, fierce fighting raged. British artillery roared, Japanese aircraft bombed from the skies, and the city burned. Yet Yamashita knew the truth. He was running out of supplies, fuel, and ammunition. He decided to bluff. On February 15th, Yamashita sent a message to British Lieutenant General Arthur Percival: surrender or face total destruction. Percival believed the Japanese had overwhelming numbers. In reality, Yamashita had fewer troops, little artillery, and no reinforcements. But his confidence, his ruthless momentum, it broke the British will to fight. That afternoon, Singapore surrendered. Over 80,000 British, Australian, and Indian soldiers laid down their arms, the largest capitulation in British military history. Yamashita had achieved what no one thought possible. After the fall of Singapore, Yamashita became a national hero, celebrated across Japan as the Tiger of Malaya. Even his enemies respected him. British officers described him as calm, disciplined, and surprisingly humane toward prisoners compared to other Japanese commanders. Yet Yamashita's success made him dangerous politically. Japan's military elite feared his growing popularity. Instead of being rewarded, he was reassigned to Manchuria, far from the glory of the Pacific War. There, he watched Japan's fortune slowly collapse. In 1944, as American forces closed in on the Philippines, Yamashita was recalled to command the defense of Luzon. But this time, his luck had run out. He faced overwhelming American firepower and had no air support, no naval backup, and dwindling supplies. Still, he fought tenaciously, organizing defensive strongholds deep in the mountains, delaying the U.S. advance for months. When the war ended, Yamashita surrendered, not in disgrace, but in dignity. He stood tall, bowed slightly, and said only, "I did my duty as a soldier." After Japan's defeat, Yamashita was placed on trial by an American military court for war crimes committed by Japanese troops in the Philippines. The prosecution argued that as commanding general, he was responsible for the actions of his subordinates even without direct orders. Yamashita's defense was simple. "I never gave such orders. A commander cannot control every soldier in battle." Despite international appeals, he was found guilty and executed by hanging in February 1946. He faced his death calmly, refusing a blindfold, and said his final prayer before the trapdoor opened. In later years, even Allied officers admitted his trial had been controversial and that Yamashita had fought honorably as a soldier. Today, military historians still study his Malayan campaign as a masterclass in speed, deception, and psychological warfare. General Tomoyuki Yamashita was not a saint, but he was, without doubt, a military genius. He used strategy, not brutality, to win battles that should have been impossible. His victory in Malaya remains one of the most brilliant campaigns of the Second World War, a reminder that even in war, intelligence can outmatch power. And for that, the world remembers him as the Tiger of Malaya.